Hello everybody, welcome to another one of my videos. Today we're going to be going over a new series I'm calling TFT Guides, and today's guide is going to be the absolute basics. I'm talking this video is specifically for newer players to help them learn what the game is, how pieces move, what even to do in the game and how to win, and just overall so that newer players can stop hating themselves when they play the game. TFT is something called an auto chess game. And an auto chess is basically the idea that you simply have to get the pieces and align them how you like on the board, and the pieces themselves will fight on their own. There isn't a mechanical aspect to it where you are required to hit keys or click on the board. The pieces simply move and fight based on the items that you have, the teammates that they're fighting with, and largely the position where they are placed on the board. So then the question becomes, how exactly do you get the pieces? Well, every turn you will be presented with 5 champions or units, however you like to call them. Likewise, every turn you are presented with a set amount of gold. The amount of gold varies, and we'll talk about that later, but essentially speaking, you will always have the choice between buying units, re-rolling, which is the act of spending 2 gold to refresh your shop and get 5 brand new champions in your shop, and leveling up, which is the act of spending 4 gold to gain 4 XP. Obviously, at a certain XP threshold, you'll level up, that threshold growing every time you level up. There is a little bit of complexity when it comes to when should I re-roll and when should I level up, but those are more topics I'm going to address in a different video talking about the economy surrounding the game. And I wouldn't say as an absolute beginner it's something that you should really worry yourself about right now. I would say the main priority for like a newer player is for the first couple of times playing to just get used to what the units do, what the items do, and what comps feel fun for you. Because as much as TFT can be competitive, it's still a game. You gotta enjoy playing the game. Well, how do I get stronger? Essentially speaking, there are 2 things that go into this. The first one we're going to talk about is the fact that units can level up, much like Set did just now. There's 1-star units, which are like Ezreal. Because I only have 2 and I don't have a third one, they're not really that strong. The 2-star unit, which is what happened to Mr. Set, that when 3 1 costs are on the board at the same time, they automatically combine and become a 2-star unit. And then a 3-star unit would be if I got 3 2-stars of a unit. Much like if I got 3 2-star sets, they would turn into this golden 3-star unit. And the higher the star, the stronger they are. That being said, the more gold a unit costs also is an indicator of how strong they are as a unit. So usually a 4 cost would be better than a 1 cost unit, and a 2-star 4 cost or 5 cost is usually probably some of the strongest units in the game, as you can see here with Xayah just absolutely destroying everything on the board. The second part of how to get stronger is also the items you use. In TFT, the game has several instances where you are fighting random monsters as opposed to your opponents. It usually follows the rule of 5, as in 5 fights with players, and then the only real exception is the first 3 times at the beginning of the game. And you can also keep track of that by looking at the top with the icons. It tells you when you're fighting players and when you're fighting monsters. These are moments where you randomly get gold or item components for killing monsters. Taking 2 item components and placing them on a unit, the same way I just did with Mr. Swain, is going to combine them into a special item that has a special ability. In this case, Rage Blade is every time that a unit attacks, they start getting more and more attack speed, so they attack faster. It's also important to note that once you make an item, you can't remove that item unless you sell the character you've put it on. And it's also will never uncombined even when you sell the character. It will always be Rage Blade. These items will help your champions be stronger, tankier to overall win fights, but it's also important to note that there are some things called carousels that happen in between the monster rounds where you get a champion holding an item component. These carousels help you get items, not really champions. I commonly see that happen with beginners where they try to get like the champions that they like from the carousel. But the idea basically is that there is only a limited number of items that you get in a game. There's an infinite number of chances for you to get a champion. So usually you want to look for items. But again, as a beginner, I wouldn't worry too much on it. I'll probably make another video for that. I'm not too sure. really your focus is just figuring out what things do at the beginning of the game, and that's the purpose of this video. In the latest set, they also added that in round 4-7, instead of fighting a monster, you get a shop full of random items or item components, and you can reroll this shop for 1 gold, changing it for 5 more random options infinitely during the buying stage. In this case, I didn't really do that because Giant Slayer, an item that deals more damage the more health someone has, was like a really good item for talent and actually preferred. So rather than risking it, I just went with the shop and slammed some items. While the other 2 items weren't really all that good, they were good enough. The last thing we'll talk about is augments. You get 3 augments for the entire game, and you get them one at a time, on round 2-1, 3-3, and 4-6. You don't need to memorize when they are, because again, the icons at the top, the one looking like a box, is going to let you know when it's coming. Augments are special abilities that make each game unique and also affect how strong you or someone else is. No one's 3 augments should ever be the same. I don't think I've ever seen that happen before. And talking about how to pick your augments isn't really something that I'm going to talk about in this video because, again, I don't think a newer player should be worrying about these kinds of things. I will say that when you pick your augment, just like you're going to see in the video, usually you want to choose something that gives you the best value right then and there as opposed to later on in the game. But again, as a newer player, just focus on learning what the champions do and what the items do. And then you can come back to the guide series and learn a little bit more about the game later on. I just want to throw in that while you're figuring out champions, remember that units have 2 or 3 traits that if you get a specific number of those types of units, they get special abilities depending on the trait. So that adds a little fun in the mix when you play around with which characters feel fun and strong. Keep in mind there's a ton more to talk about, but I just want this video as a way to introduce a newer player to a really complex strategy game and simplify it down for them. Don't worry so much about winning or losing because I'm going to be honest, you have a lot of losses at the beginning just figuring out what everything does. It's super common, so don't stress yourself out. If this video helped you out, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you do all 3, I will love you forever. All dramatics aside, that's the end of the video. Hope you guys have fun, and peace.